For most of the 20th century, the investing advice was the same everywhere in the world. Buy an index fund, hold it for 30 years, let compound interest do the rest. Slow, boring, reliable. A large share of young investors today are walking away from that model, not out of ignorance, but on purpose. Recent industry research puts the number of wealthy Gen Z and millennial investors who no longer believe traditional stocks and bonds can deliver strong returns at close to 2/3. That is not a fringe opinion. That is a generational shift happening in real time, across borders, across income levels. So today, we're not going to moralize about it. We're going to break down exactly why this shift is happening, what younger investors are putting their money into instead, and, critically, where that thinking is right and where it's dangerously wrong. To understand this shift, you have to understand what this generation actually lived through, not read about, lived through. They came of age watching the 2008 financial crisis wreck their parents' retirement accounts, watched the institutions responsible face almost no real consequences, and watched a pandemic-era economy where asset prices and cost of living both spiraled while wages stayed flat. By the time they had their first paycheck, "the system works if you're patient" already sounded like something said by people the system had worked for. That's not cynicism for its own sake. It's a rational response to lived data. And it shows up in the numbers. Global surveys tracking retail investor sentiment have found trust in traditional financial institutions declining over the past 2 years, with a distinct and growing segment of young investors who no longer expect to hit the financial milestones their parents took for granted: home ownership, a traditional retirement, a single employer career. Researchers have given this a name: financial nihilism. Not the belief that money doesn't matter, the belief that the traditional path to building it no longer applies to them. Here's the part worth sitting with. This isn't just an attitude, it's changing actual behavior at scale. Data from major banking research groups shows that the share of 25-year-olds holding investment accounts jumped dramatically over the past decade, from single digits to well over a third. Young people aren't avoiding investing, they are avoiding the traditional version of it. So if not the classic 60-40 stock and bond portfolio, what exactly is replacing it? 4 clear patterns show up across the data. Pattern 1. Concentrated bets on disruption, not diversification. Younger investors are heavily overweight in companies they believe are reshaping entire industries, particularly artificial intelligence. Recent generational investing surveys show a majority of both Gen Z and millennial investors already hold AI-related stocks at meaningfully higher rates than Gen X or baby boomers, and most plan to hold those positions for a decade or longer. This isn't short-term speculation for most of them. It's a long-term bet that the companies building foundational technology will be the era's biggest wealth creators, the way early technology and internet-era companies were for previous generations. Pattern 2. Digital assets as a core holding, not a side bet. Cryptocurrency has moved from novelty to a standard line item in younger portfolios. For a portion of this generation, digital assets aren't a gamble on the side of real investing, they are viewed as a legitimate, even preferable store of value compared to currencies and institutions they don't fully trust. Pattern 3. Private markets and alternative assets. Among wealthier young investors specifically, there's a clear pivot toward venture-backed companies, private equity, and other assets that sit outside the public stock market entirely. Having watched enormous wealth created in private companies before those companies ever go public, a growing number of young investors don't want to wait for the public listing to participate. Pattern 4. Values-aligned and narrative-driven investing. This generation is far more willing to invest based on what a company represents: sustainability, social stance, disruption of an industry they distrust, than purely on quarterly earnings. They trust individual creators and independent analysts they follow online more than they trust institutional research from banks.
Financial education itself has moved platforms. A meaningful share of young investors say they learned the basics of investing from YouTube and social media, not from a bank, an advisor, or a classroom. Before we get to the warning signs, and there are real ones, it's worth being honest about where this generation actually is onto something. They're starting earlier. Roughly a third of Gen Z investors began investing in university or shortly after, roughly double the rate at which millennials started at that same age. Time in the market is still the single biggest lever in long-term wealth building, and starting a decade earlier than your parents did is a genuine structural advantage regardless of what you are invested in. They're also right to be skeptical of one-size-fits-all advice. Financial guidance built for a stable employment, single currency, low inflation economy doesn't map cleanly onto a world of gig income, cross-border careers, and currencies that don't hold their value the way they used to. By questioning inherited financial wisdom isn't reckless. Sometimes it's overdue. And the appetite for owning a piece of transformative technology early is not irrational. Every generation before this one has, in hindsight, wished it had recognized a defining technological shift sooner and invested accordingly.
Here's where the picture gets more complicated, and where the responsibility of this channel is to be honest rather than validating. Concentration risk is real risk. A portfolio heavily weighted toward one theme, even a theme as significant as artificial intelligence, carries a very different risk profile than a diversified one. Betting correctly on a transformative technology has made people wealthy throughout history. Betting on the wrong company within that theme or entering at the wrong valuation has also wiped people out. Conviction is not the same as certainty. Narrative-driven investing is exactly how bubbles form, when an asset is purchased because of what it represents rather than what it's fundamentally worth. Price and value can drift apart for a long time, and when they reconnect, it's often sudden and severe. This is not a criticism unique to younger investors. It's a pattern that has repeated across every generation, in every market, throughout financial history. What's different now is the speed at which a narrative can spread through social platforms, compressing years of hype into weeks. Getting financial education from creators has a structural problem. Most social media financial content is optimized for engagement, not accuracy, and platforms rarely distinguish between a licensed analyst, a genuine expert, and someone who simply sounds confident on camera. The trust younger investors have shifted away from traditional institutions toward individual voices online is understandable, but it has replaced one set of blind spots with another. The people making the most confident claims online are frequently the least accountable if those claims turn out wrong. And private market access often isn't what it's marketed to be. For most young investors, getting into private deals in practice means far less favorable terms, less regulatory protection, and dramatically less liquidity than public markets. Advantages that are real for the ultra-wealthy investors that model actually works for, and far less real for everyone else buying in through smaller platforms, marketing that access as democratized. So, where does that leave you, if you recognize yourself in any of this? Not with a return to your parents' exact playbook, but not with a full rejection of structure either. 3 principles hold regardless of what generation you belong to or what asset class is trending. Principle 1, conviction earns a position size, not your whole portfolio. It's reasonable to believe strongly in a technology, a sector, or an asset class. It's a different decision to put your entire financial future behind that single belief. The strongest investors in history have held concentrated positions in what they understood deeply, while still maintaining a foundation that could survive being wrong. Principle 2, verify the source, not the confidence. The volume and certainty of a claim online tells you nothing about its accuracy. Before a piece of financial advice changes your behavior, ask what track record, credential, or regulatory accountability actually sits behind the person delivering it. Principle 3,
Time in the market is still your biggest asset, whatever you invest in. The generational advantage of starting early is real and worth protecting. The way you protect it is by making sure the vehicle you are using to build wealth is one you can actually stay invested in through a downturn, not one so volatile or so illiquid that a bad year forces you out at the worst possible time. This generation isn't wrong to question the old rules. The rules genuinely needed questioning. But questioning inherited wisdom and replacing it with untested wisdom are two different things. And the second one is where fortunes, not just returns, get lost. If you've shifted away from traditional investing towards something newer, AI stocks, crypto, private deals, creator-led advice, I want to hear what actually drove that decision for you. Was it a specific event that broke your trust, or was it something you were taught to expect from the start? Drop it in the comments. That's genuinely useful data for where this channel goes next. And if this breakdown gave you a clearer framework for evaluating where your own money is going, the Wealth Level series on this channel goes deeper into building a portfolio that can actually hold up over decades, not just headlines. I'll see you in the next one.